All right, so today we're going to talk about a fresh new start for a fresh new year, machine and frame maintenance and cleaning. Set yourself up for success so you don't have any issues once you get your quilts on there and start going.
We're going to start with Quilter's Playground, and this is cleaning and maintaining your machines. And I have really thought a lot about this. And I don't know if I'm covering everything we need to today because there is so much. However, throughout the year, we're going to address issues, address problems. The one thing I wanted you to learn and understand is from your manuals how your machine works. And we have given you some really good instructions of naming each of the parts of the machine, from the thread post to the thread mast to the cones, everything to the tensioner knob and what it does. I want you to take a look at your manual or your guide and just learn to understand what each of these parts are. This won't only help you, but it will help the tech support team when you call them and say, hey, I'm having trouble. Then they can identify it with the right name and you will know where to look and what to adjust. So I'm kind of putting this on your shoulders as well. The techs do the best that they can, but we also spend a lot of money on our machines and frames. And so we don't know what the parts are named or how they work, how they rotate, then shame on us because we've invested that and we need to learn and understand. So learn to understand what your machines are. We've given them names and we tell you in the instructions how they function and how they work. Okay. So this is all the names. And I'm going to, on one of these, I'm not going to tell you when, I'm being like a teacher. We are going to throw this out there and have you name all the little parts. So we're going to see how much you guys know. And it'll be fun. And maybe there might be a little prize at the very end for the people that know, might get a coupon or something like that. So let's make it fun this year and let's learn our machines and our frames. So going forward, I want you to learn the thread guide, the bobbin wind stand, the thread mast, the handlebars, everything about your machine. And here's another little thing I want to talk about is the ports, how important it is to know and understand which plugs or plug into which ports. There's really no excuses unless something falls off or rubs off and you don't see it, okay? And I'm not saying we're perfect because we do make mistakes. So we do put things upside down and have our problems, but we're going to own our mistakes. And I want you to own your mistakes as well. And moving forward. So understand and learn what the hook is and how it behaves, what the needle plate is, what the hopping foot does, because the hopping foot's different than a presser foot. Okay, the next thing is just going through understanding how the screws fit in and how to make some adjustments on your machines. Okay, this one right here is for the display. And, sometimes it's hard to see that it plugs in correctly. So I want you to go over your machines and your frame after today and look it out and check it over and just make sure everything's set up for your quilting needs. All right, there's a lot to go through, so I'm going to jump in. Okay. There are a lot of phone calls and a lot of frustration with the sewing lab. They're the ones that get your machines, you guys, and they work on the repairs for them. And when they get the machines, I ran back there and asked them, what are the top things that you're seeing or issues that you're seeing on these machines coming back? And they said the encoders are one of them. And that's a tech support call as well. We get a lot of calls on skip stitches, and that a lot of times it's how the encoders are working. Okay, that's not the whole reason that you'll get a skip stitch, but how the encoder is oriented on your frame and on your machine is extremely important. They need to be springing down towards the tracks. And I've got some videos further on down down my PowerPoint that I'll show you. So make sure your encoder is oriented the right direction for how it's spring and for your style of frame. Now, all the frames have the encoders facing the same direction. So read your instructions and find out, and the instructions should be really clear. The other thing is as you're attaching the encoder, we're not loosening this collar screw right here. If you can see where I'm pointing, it's the big collar screw with your 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench before we put it on. So it keeps it tight. What this collar screw does is it loosens the tension off of the screw and the spring so that you can put it on the wheel right here on the wheel, and then you can put it on the wheel here. But once you have it on the wheel and you've screwed the wheel screw in, then you need to position this collar. It's a separate step. Collar screw to the 12 o'clock position and tighten it up. That will help the encoder to spring correctly in the right direction. Okay? All right, the other thing is, okay, I wanted to address this. On both the machines and the carriages, right underneath these screws here, I don't know what they're called. You have on the machines, when you set it up and put the wheels on, you have these little flaps right here. The little wings that come out that you're attaching these screws to the wheelbase of the machine. And they're a little bit different screw. They're longer. And underneath that is a rubber strip. Okay. This rubber strip is to help with vibration, but we can over tighten those screws to the point where one of the wheels is not riding on the tracks. And I had this in the class the other day. We'd put a new machine on, and we had over tightened those screws that attach the front wheels. These are on the front wheels. And it was so over tightened that one of the wheels wasn't riding along the track. And no matter what we did to adjust it, it wasn't allowing it to settle on the tracks. And once we loosened it, guess what happened? It settled down and it was able to ride on the tracks. All the wheels should be riding on the tracks. I don't care what the texts tell you. I don't care what anybody says. They have to be riding on the tracks to give you more precise tension and for it to be smooth moving across your frame. Okay. And then on the bottom carriage, it's the same thing. Is it the front wheels? Yes. It's the front wheels on the bottom carriage that have the same rubber strip. So if you'll just loosen those up, your wheels, and just tighten them, just barely tighten them, then your wheels will settle and ride more readily on your tracks. So aligning your tracks and paying attention to those is really important. All right. And then understand where the slots are to attach your magnetic and other things so that you're not screwing them into the wrong place. So if you need something to help you get your glasses on, you guys. All right, let's talk about threading our machine. Now, with our thread, our Finesse Classic thread, it should come off of the cone, up through the thread mass, okay? And then down to the thread post. And then you're going to take it from the back to the front on the thread post, the top little guide or hole, and then wrap it around to the right and then bring it to the bottom. And from the bottom hole, it will be now aligned with the top tensioner guide. So this is like a little tensioner, and it doesn't have that much tension on it, but it helps keep your tension nice and straight and perfect. So you'll bring it through from the back to the front of the hole, and this is where you need to floss it between those two discs. Now it's really easy because it's metal to get it behind the disc or on the other side of the disc and not in between. So if you have to, pull it apart because it springs, and make sure that the thread is in between the disc. It should be pulling down to the bottom hole, and you're going to go from the top to the back, and then this is the 21. Okay, so with the 21, and each of your machines will be slightly different, but the basics are the very same. Okay, there should be a guide right here that you put it through first. Okay, this guide pulls the thread kind of at an angle so that now it will stay in between the tensioner knob disc. And make sure that you get it correctly. Floss through the tensioner knob. You'll bring it down and around and up over the spring and down onto this thread guide here. And then up through the lever, down through the guides, and into the needle, the top guide of the needle bar, and then down through the needle. And that will line it up nice and straight. So I made it a bigger picture so you guys could see how important it is. This is a problem, and a lot of people don't realize that they haven't flossed it between the disc, and we get in a hurry too. I'm guilty of it as well. So make sure you're flossing it between the discs. Okay, that being said, we're going to go through. I want you to learn to understand what each of your buttons do and how they work, so you can get the correct settings as well. All right, so make sure you go through. I was going to get some more pictures, but I ran out of time. So before we send this out, I will have it organized and I will have the correct pictures, okay? And I might have another video in there. I hope so, okay? So anyway, just learn and to understand. So the bobbin estimator, that's what it is, a bobbin estimator. And so it will let you know when the bobbin's running out and what you need to look for. Then your overspeed and everything. Okay, so let's talk tension and the tensioner knob, okay? We want it to get balanced tension, so use your knob, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, okay? So use your tension guide to help you learn and understand your stitches. Then make sure you're putting your needle in correctly, okay? The needle orientation, and you guys, I've told you this story before. I just got a brand new machine. I didn't have my light bar up, and I was having breaking thread. My tension went terrible, and guess what? I brought it back. I was so frustrated and so angry. I knew it was the machine, and guess what? It was me. I put the needle in backwards. How embarrassing for me. I work at Grace Company. I should know better, but I didn't. So I admit my mistakes. So if you call the techs and you're frustrated, check your needle first and make sure you've oriented it in the right direction. Okay, let's look at the scarf. The scarf is that little indentation at the bottom of the needle where the eye is. Now there's a scarf and a groove. The groove is on the front side of the needle, and the groove helps you pull the thread down straight through the eye. The scarf helps it with, as you're stitching, if it's a little deeper scarf, then it allows you, like the MR is multi-directional, and so you can use it for long arms and move it faster. So it helps to keep the tension. I don't know all the ins and outs and how it works, but use this needle alignment tool. It will really help you. Now, I use the needle alignment tool after I put the needle in so I can reposition it correctly. All right. It was just easier for me to put the needle in and just barely tighten my screw so I could orient it the right direction. So do what works for you. Okay. Next one is, this is actually a good picture of the groove and the scarf, how it works. The scarf faces the back of the machine, the groove the front. So when you're putting it in, put it in correctly. And I'm going to talk about the hopping foot height screw. So I've got lots of videos. I just really wanted to talk to you about this collar piece because some of you have older machines and you've had to replace the collar and maybe it's not adjusted. This was one of the things that the text. So you'll notice right here that this collar that part of the needle bar is showing. This should be aligned just nice and straight so that none of that is showing, okay? So that's what they told me in the tech lab. So you might want to take a look at that if you have replaced that. I'm going through and I'm going to talk to you about how to take the needle plate off to clean it and how to put it back on. I've got a video on that. And I just wanted to put this on here. So if you ever have to take or you unscrew your tensioner knob, you can put it back correctly. Just follow your instructions because they're very good in helping you. And then here, I had learned something new, okay? I did not know this, you guys, but I'm going to make this picture just a little bigger. You see these two screws here? This one is the tensioner screw. It's the larger one that you adjust for tension. This one here is, I did not know this, a screw that is torqued, and it is torqued to a spec. And so if you don't have a screwdriver that's a torque screwdriver, you cannot adjust this screw. So if it falls out, Cody and I kind of decided you need a new bobbin case because it needs to be at the correct spec, okay? So make sure you're purchasing a new bobbin case just to have one on hand, and it will really help you move through your quilting that much quicker. Now the spring is a different story, and I'm going to show you how to swap out the spring. So here's my first little video, you guys. Oh, I didn't change this. I didn't take this off. So let me show you the two videos. Okay, so you'll put it down in, and I'll try to angle those little spacers. All right, so this one's the wrong one. Okay, sorry. I'm going to make this smaller and then I'll make it bigger. It's this one first. So what do you do if the spring comes out of your bobbin case, okay? So it's the orientation of the spring that's really important. But what you notice that you have this little hump here, okay? And it's to help you as the thread goes through to help guide. Okay, so this is where the larger side, the wider space of the spring is supposed to be put into. The other side, okay, you'll see the little slot right there, is for the smaller. So you'll notice that I have wider spacing on this side and smaller. If you turn it upside down, your smaller ones will be on the other side and it won't spring correctly. So make sure you orient it correctly to begin with. Okay. All right, here's this video. So you'll put it down in, and I'll try to angle those little spacers in over the hole, and then you can put it down in. And now we can work on the positioning with our unpicker. And all I did was take this right here. Came undone. Yeah. You heard me get a little angry. And I'm going to hold it into place, and then I'm going to put this one in. There we go. There we go. Now I can push it into position and position. And you'll feel it kind of snap into place. And now we can put our bobbin in and see. And you'll notice that it just should have some springing and it should be aligned along the top. Now, one thing that Cody said, the spring can get bent, and so you'll have uneven springing as it comes out or in. And so that's not a good thing. Your spring is bent and it's hard to get it back into place. All right, so now you can buy an extra spring. I am a testament that you can fix them, but use your seam ripper or your unpicker because it really did help. That little point allowed me to adjust it into position, okay? And don't get upset because all right, so there's the same video. So just make sure that you understand how the bobbin winder works. I know some of you are a little frustrated with it, so you went and bought the external. Good for you, because you're making things work the way you want them to instead of fighting with something. But just know that we'll, hear what you have to say, and we will try to address some of these issues and help you through them. All right, then right here, it's just a little guide that I wanted to talk to you about because I want to jump in and get through my videos. Okay, so we're going to start here, and we're going to start with cleaning. we're going to start here with the needle plate, because every quarter or so you need to take the needle plate off and clean inside around the hook from the top. So the best way to do it is to get your 3mm Allen wrench, take your foot off, and then and your needle out, and just give it a good cleaning. Okay. All right. Now I want to make it as another suggestion. I said to take the needle out. You don't need to, okay? Because you can keep that in there. Just unthread it, and I do tell you that. All right, get your flathead screwdriver, okay? And it's short. One of the things that they told me when they get the machines back is that the needle, when we put the needle plate back on, hits the needle plate. So we're going to show you how to clean and position so the needle plate is back in the center. So I'm going to stop there. I tried to make this short and sweet. All right, so I have cleaned inside here, gotten rid of all the crap. Now, this is something that you should even be doing for your domestic machines that you're piecing with. So clean them out, you guys. You'll be able to maintain and sew with them for a lot longer. Okay, we're going to put the needle plate back on, and see, I can just pull it over right here and position it, okay? Now, I'm going to put one screw in. I'm going to put my screws in. Let me show you this really quick. Sorry, I'm a little slower than your average person. Okay, I'm going to put my screws in and kind of make it so that I can make some adjustments, because I'm going to adjust this so that I'm going to put my needle in a down position so that I can make sure I'm centering the needle and the needle plate. Okay, so see how I've aligned the needle plate over the hole. Now what I want to do is put my needle in the down position. Okay, and we're going to use our hand wheel, with the hand wheel, and make sure it's down. And now I can make this adjustment, which is so important, because they say that they get lots of machines in where it's off to the side and the needle's really close. And if it gets bent, it's going to hit the needle plate. So make sure you're aligning, and then hold it into position, and then tighten those screws down. I have to be honest with you, I did have to do this a couple of times, because as I was screwing it in, it did slide back. So watch that. And actually, Marie held it into position while I screwed it on, and that really helped. So whatever works for you, you guys, okay? All right, off to the next one. I'm going to show you guys how to oil the machine correctly. And the one thing I'm doing is taking my thread out. Now you can put it off to the side, okay, on the handle, but I want to remove it from the lever that goes up and down, and then unthread it from the needle. Now I don't have to take the needle out, okay, but I just wanted to make sure that it was unthreaded and the bobbin case is out, because there are two places that we're going to oil really well. The first place is our hook, okay? So you're going to take your oil, and because I cleaned it out really good, I just want to make some oil going around and putting it, and it will thank you. It craves oil. This you're going to do every time you go to quilt. Cleaning the lint out is only every quarter. All right, the other place that we're going to oil is this arm right here. The needle bar. It's the needle bar, you guys. Oil. Now, to lubricate that, we are going to put it in manual mode at a really low speed and just turn it on and let it work its way in. And here, sounds really nice because I just oiled it. And this is where I saw I needed to make an adjustment. See, I didn't get it as close, and it was off to the side, so it was closer to one side than the other. And so I noticed that the needle was, nice and straight, so I had to adjust my needle plate, okay? So watch that as well. All right, the next one we're going to show you is, I hope, the hopping foot height. All right, so we're going to set the hopping foot height, okay? And most of you think, okay, well, I put the foot on and screw it on and I'm good to go. That's not true. You have to put the needle in the lowest position to set the height correctly. So what I'm going to do is put my foot on, and notice I have the super glide on. And so I put it and I positioned it over the hole, the needle hole, so that now I can put my needle in the down position. I'm going to go to the back of my machine and turn it the correct turn radius of the hand wheel to the lowest position. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to put my foot height gauge underneath the foot and use my screw and screw it on. That's all you have to do. There you go. If you have a little thicker fabric or a double layer of batting, and you find it hard to go over your seams because you have a lot of them, use 2 foot height gauges, you guys. And I will put it close enough that it shouldn't have too much of a problem and you won't get the skip stitches. Okay? All right. Next one. Now I get to show you one of the most satisfying parts of cleaning your frame is seeing how much dirt you can get off the wheels. So I'm taking this jersey fabric. It's just t-shirt fabric, you guys. So save your old t-shirts or your pieces of your t-shirts that don't have graphics on them and use them to clean the wheels and the tracks. So you need to clean the tracks and take your fingers. I want you to notice just this little bit, how much dirt and lint and grease collects. Now, these wheels, this will be very satisfying. We're just going to hold it there and move the carriage. And look how much I got off that wheel. And then we're going to hold it right here and do the other wheel. That was even worse, you guys. So clean your tracks, all 16 wheels if you have them, and your tracks, and you will be a happy quilter because you'll actually extend the life of your tracks and your wheels. All right, here's some more. Hi everybody, welcome to Quilter's Playground. This was my first video. I'm going to show you how filthy this frame is. It hasn't been cleaned in a long time and had a lot of use. I want you to look at the wheels, see the buildup on the wheels, see the lint that's caught. We're going to clean it and show you the proper way of cleaning. See the lint that's on the belt and the knobs. You'll see lots of lint inside the hook. All right. Now let me show you the proper way to clean and maintain your machine. Sorry, you guys, I got that one. I'm going to change it right now in the wrong position. So I just wanted to show you a few things. This was my cloth right here after I cleaned everything. Look how dirty it is. This frame and machine hadn't been cleaned in a little bit. And I wanted you to see the wheel. The buildup on the wheel, actually, even though it's metal, it can really wear on your wheels and you'll start to feel it. And even if you have automation, you guys, there's really nothing better than to have it run smoothly and seamlessly and make your design. So get rid of all of that grime and crud. It's just really important. And back behind it, you'll get threads. If you're not cutting your threads and pulling them up and you're leaving them dangling down, they will get caught in the wheels of the carriage or your machine, and they will wrap around, and they can cause a lot of problems. And then you have to, just figure out what the problem is. And we don't want you to have to do any guesswork. So go out and clean them really good. All right. So we're going to talk to you about right now, Marie is really quick about the automation.
So you want to clean your motor plates. And I've taken the machine off of this one just to show you and you can do it on the frame at times, but sometimes you might have to take it off, but you might not have to take it off. So I want to show you what the belts do. And the belts do this with running when there's batting that gets on your belt and goes through these gears, and thread, if there's loose thread that gets, if you have thread laying across your belt and it goes across, it can go in your gears. So these are what this looks like. In the gear, this is at the front of your machine. Down here, you can't see this one very well, but there is thread in there. If you're seeing some problems and you don't think it's tracking very well, then you could very much have thread in these gears. On the back side, it's just the same. See how my rollers are? Lint, the thread, the batting is getting in here from your belt and making a mess. If you get too much buildup, your belt can start slipping and it won't track properly. So with the top belt, you have two tensioners on the back and the front. Make sure these stay tight because sometimes they wiggle loose and you can start having problems with patterns overlapping.
Sorry, Marie, I didn't get the belt tensioner in the right place, but I will fix that, I promise. So we had a tensioner video for the long belt. I will find that and put that in there, okay? All right, we're going to talk about the encoders right now. I want you guys to look at your manuals and see what it says, the position of the bottom encoder. They're very clear, very precise in which direction the encoder should be springing and how it should roll along the tracks. Now, this isn't a continuum frame and an elite. No, is it a continuum? It's an elite. Sorry, it's an evolution elite. So the bottom encoder is facing on the inside of the tracks. Now, sometimes the encoders, if we're taking them on and off, can get bent. And so it can be rubbing up against the carriage. And you can get long stitches. And also this cord, as you bring it up through, if you don't have the automation, bring it up through this space right here so it stays out of your way and it won't ride along the tracks, so that the top wheels, or the top machine wheels, will ride over it. Okay, and here's the top encoder. Now we're going to talk about encoders and how they should spring down towards the track. So we have a couple different styles, not encoders, but of wheels and how they attach. So for the top encoder, if you have a longer machine, all right, this isn't true for the little rebel because it doesn't use encoders, it uses a sensor. If you're using stitch regulation and you have it, the encoders need to spring down towards the tracks. I want you to notice this little piece right here is called the collar. It should be at the 12 o'clock position and then you tighten it down. Now, one thing we want you to be aware of, if you have to take your machine off the frame, take your encoder wheel off first. If you leave it on and you set the machine off to the side on the ground, guess what's going to happen? This is going to push up and it's going to lose its springing, and it's also going to lose the tension and bend. So make sure it's not that hard to take them off and on, okay? All right, the last thing I want to talk about is making sure you're aligning your frame to the bottom carriage and top carriage wheel. Now, our homes settle over time, you guys. There's just nothing we can do about that. So things change in our rooms, and sometimes we're pulling the machines. They're on casters and we're moving them in and out. And so we're making all these adjustments and we're leaning on the poles and stuff like that. So now is the time to go back and reassess and look at your frame instructions and your machine instructions and say, okay, I'm going to resolve for the next hour to just look it over really carefully and make these adjustments. So the track supports, the long things that hold the track, need to be aligned to the bottom carriage wheels. Hands down, make a huge difference. If they're not, it can cause problems with the automation and things like that. Now, if you have automation, the long belt needs to be aligned to straight across. Otherwise, you're going to have traveling patterns that will start at one end and work their way up to wherever the position of the belt. So on the newer frames, we have welded tensioner guides for the long belt and the belt bracket on the top belt. However, on the older frames, like the first Continuum and some of the others, they had a bracket that could slide back and forth so your belt can be off. So go and look at that and make sure it's straight across. If you have an older frame, that do your due diligence to know that and understand that that's how it tracks. And so if it's off slightly, it can throw your pattern off. All right, and make sure you know your encoder position. So I put all of these encoder instructions for the different frames in here, okay? And these are the current frames that we're selling now. I didn't go back and do all the other ones because I wasn't going to. But if you need resources, go to graceframe.com, look up on the top tab and find resources, and you can find instructions. So if you don't have them, go and print them off of the graceframe.com website. Now, I have a homework assignment that I want you to play with, okay? And I talked about the bobbin winder and how to make the adjustments, okay? So this is my little assignment for you. I want us to learn how to design and become better free motion quilters and better quilters who understand design. So I designed this cute little design. It's hearts and kind of little paisleys. I call these paisleys, okay? And the reason I did it this way is I want you to learn how to quilt different directions. So the challenge of this is, if you don't want to use this pattern, let it be your inspiration and you design your own design, okay? And play with it. So I did this one so that you could trace it. And then I did this one so you could try to redraw it, okay? Then I did it so it was opposite of each other because I think it's a little bit more interesting when they're not all facing the same direction, okay? So this is one way that you can use it as a block design, or you could use it maybe kind of as alternating blocks with different positionings, angles. So then I did it with this way so that you could try it going the other direction. It's not as easy as it looks. Then right down here, I did it with all four of them put together to make one big block. And see how fun and cute that is? This isn't that hard of a design for you to try your hand at. Okay, and then I just gave you all these little cheat sheets so that you could use them to draw on and see how good you can be. Now, I want to see your homework. I want to see what you will do with the design and how you would change it up, or if you, how well you can quilt it on a block, on a quilt, after you practiced it for a while. So yeah, kind of accept the challenge this year because I'm going to try to do this every time you come to Quilter's Playground. So I'm going to challenge you, and I want you to rise to the occasion and really try to work on it, because that's part of the focus of this year that I felt I needed to grow because I'm going through some things that I need to get back to, and I need to work my brain and work my dexterity and everything, because I have neuropathy now. Who knew, gal? It changes you. So I want you to work with me on that and help us move forward. So these are my little designs. I love designing, and I hope to instill that in you so that you could start understanding designs and how you can work them into your quilting. So thanks for watching. I know I ran over, but let's answer some questions really quick. Okay. You'll have to take over, Moo. Yeah.
There's no running over for you, Karla. We're
I
here
know,
for
but there was so much, and I know it was kind of chaotic, and it was, I promise I'll get it organized. Okay.
So I do have some questions for you, and I think the most common one we're hearing right now is how often do you do this maintenance?
I would like to see you do it at least once a year, okay? But the needle plate, do that every quarter. Okay.
And oiling every like 3 months?
Every quilt. Okay. And sometimes if you hear your machine kind of start to ping or anything like that, oil it. Okay. Even during the quilt. Some of those quilts are pretty big. So just listen to your machine. It will kind of talk to you and tell you what you need to do. And change your needles, you guys. I didn't harp on that enough. You guys, we push our needles to the umpteenth stitch. And that's even our sewing needles, you guys. We don't change them enough, and we should.
And then I had some questions and confusions with the picture. I think the video that Marie did, we were showing the inside of my brain blanking.
The motor plate.
The automation. Yeah, we were showing the inside
No,
of that.
we didn't take the cover off. We were showing you if you turned your carriage over and you had it screwed on, what it looks like without the with the belts in there. So that's
okay, because people were confused with that view. So
yeah,
we were showing
didn't take the cover off. You guys have a cover over it, and you should keep that cover on and never open that up. But we're trying to help you understand that if you don't clean some of these areas, that the thread and the lint will get down in there, and we're trying to help you extend the life of your products.
Okay. And then with the bobbins, the only reason you would take that spring out of the bobbin case is if it bent, or some people saying that they're having like a magnetic bobbin in there. Otherwise, keep your spring
so
in.
if you have magnetic bobbins, you don't want the spring in there, okay? And if you're going to use magnetic bobbins all the time, that's fine. But if you're going to use different style of bobbins, then you need one bobbin case with the spring and one without. Now, sometimes you drop it and the spring comes out. Every time you drop it, you lose some of the, I don't know, how do I want to say it? Some of the effectiveness of the bobbin case, because you're making dings in it and stuff like, even if it's on the carpet, it just, the screws come loose and stuff. So just know that the more you drop it, you might have to replace it. That's why I say get an extra bobbin case, so that you can keep quilting and you don't have to mess with the spring right now, but you can move forward. And then when you have time, you can sit down and play with the spring.
And there were some questions with some of them. They feel like they have different instructions with their older machines. One says to oil like inside of the long arm or put oil in the top hole.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I tried to do away with that. Okay. So the oil it on the needle bar, and I asked Cody if I could keep saying that, and he said yes. Okay, because the needle bar is the piece that you were oiling up here, but the oil was trickling down and it would settle down below, so we're over oiling, and we don't want to do that. So by oiling the needle bar, and because it's going up and down, you're fine. Okay, but oil the hook too.
Awesome. And then a lot of questions are, is there an issue with using a spray or a blower to blow the lint out of like the bobbin area and stuff?
Do not use a spray or a blower, because it blows the lint and the dust inside your machine. It pushes it that direction. And when they open up the machines and they get them here, that's one of the issues. Now, we started out saying that, but we were brand new, and I don't know why we haven't changed our. So do not use the spray. Do not use a blower. If it's a vacuum and it's sucking it, that's fine. But don't use a spray or blower.
Our in-person classes, so that's a QR code to our website where you guys can sign up for classes. So any of you able to come out to Utah, we know everyone can't, but if you had the awesome opportunity to come out to Utah, this is where you can see our classes and everything we have coming. We have basic, just beginning classes on automation and free motion. We have advanced version of those classes, which are 3 full days packed with information. We have a design class. We're doing some Dream Big panel classes. So all the fun stuff coming up this year. And then as always, don't forget to check out our YouTube. And then also check out our website. That's where you can use that discount code that we give you and see all the goodies that we're selling. And always, thanks for hopping on. It was a wonderful first session of 2026, and we love having you guys around.